Hey guys, this is AJ from Age's Adventures and happy Star Wars Sunday. Today's fanfic will be What If Vader Survived? So, yeah, pretty good fanfic. We're still in the original. As Vader lay on the floor of the Death Star, he knew his time was running out. The Force had left him, and he was fading away. Suddenly, he heard Luke's voice. "Father, don't die. I can help you. Together, we can escape." Vader struggled to speak, but managed to whisper, "Luke, I'm dying. You must leave me." "No, Father, I won't leave you. I'll help you. Trust me." With Luke's help, Vader was able to get to his feet. Together, they limped through the corridors of the Death Star, fighting off stormtroopers as they went. Vader's strength was failing, but Luke's determination kept them strong. As they reached the hangar bay, they saw the Millennium Falcon waiting for them. Chewbacca was at the controls, and Han was gesturing frantically for them to hurry. "Come on, kid! We don't have all day," Han yelled. Luke and Vader ran to the Falcon. As they boarded, Vader collapsed. Chewbacca roared in concern, and Han rushed to his side. "What's wrong with him?" Han asked Luke. "He's dying," Luke said, tears streaming down his face. "We have to get him help. We have to get him help." As the Falcon lifted off, Luke sat with Vader, cradling him in his arms. "Please don't die, Father," he whispered. "I need you." Vader looked up at him, his breathing shallow. "I am proud of you, my son. You have redeemed me." Suddenly, Vader's body went limp. Luke cried out, and Chewbacca let out a mournful howl. We have to find a way to bring him back." "Luke, I'm sorry," Leia said, joining them in the cockpit. "We have to let him go. It's too late." Luke looked at her, tears still streaming down his face. "No, it's not too late. He can still be saved. I can feel it." They all looked at each other, unsure of what to say. Finally, Han spoke up. "Look, kid, we'll do whatever we can to help. But you have to understand, sometimes there's nothing we can do. Sometimes we just have to accept things the way they are." Luke nodded, understanding that Han was right. But he knew that he would never forget his father and the sacrifice he had made, and he knew in the sacrifice he had made to save him. And he knew that he would continue to fight for the cause his father had believed in, and in memory of the man who had once been Darth Vader. Would Luke, Han, Leia, Chewie, R2, and 3PO be able to get Vader to a Rebel medical frigate? As the Millennium Falcon streaked through space, the crew was filled with a sense of urgency. They knew that Vader was in critical condition. They knew that Vader's condition was critical, and they had to get him to medical attention as soon as possible. "Chewie, get us to the nearest Rebel medical frigate." Han barked, his hands flying over the controls. Chewbacca let out a growl of acknowledgement and adjusted their course. R2-D2 beeped anxiously, and C-3PO fretted beside him. Oh dear, I do hope Lord Vader is going to be all right. I've never seen him in such condition, in such a state." Leia placed a comforting hand on 3PO's arm. "We'll do everything we can for him, 3PO. We owe him that much." Luke sat by Vader's side, his hand on the former Sith Lord's chest. He could feel the faint pulse of his father's heart. and he concentrated, willing it to grow stronger. "Come on, Dad," he whispered. "You can make it. We're almost there." The medical frigate loomed ahead of them, its sleek white hull gleaming in the starlight. Chewbacca expertly brought the Falcon in for a smooth landing, and the crew rushed to unload Vader and take him to the medical bay. "Do you think they can save him?" Leia asked, her voice tight with worry. "I don't know," Luke said, his voice drawn with concern. "But they're the best in the galaxy. If anyone can help him, it's them." The medical team sprang into action, hooking Vader up to a variety of machines and devices. Luke watched anxiously as they worked his heart in his throat. Suddenly, one of the doctors turned to him. "We need you to leave, young man. We'll do everything we can for your father, but we need to work without distractions." Luke hesitated for a moment, then nodded. "Okay, but please do everything you can." As the rest of the crew gathered around him, Luke felt a sense of helplessness wash over him. He had never felt so powerless before. All he could do was wait and hope and pray. Hours passed, and the crew grew more and more anxious. Finally, a medical droid emerged from the medical bay. "Lord Vader will recover," it said in its emotionless voice. "He will require extensive medical treatment, but he will live." The crew let out a collective sigh of relief, and Luke's saddle sank to the floor, tears streaming down his face. He had thought he had lost his father forever, but now there was hope. "Thank you," he whispered, his voice choked with emotion. "Thank you for saving him." Will Leia give 3PO his memories back to remember Anakin and Padme? After Vader's recovery, the crew of the Millennium Falcon spent several days on the medical frigate, waiting for him to regain consciousness. During that time, Leia found herself thinking about 3PO and the loss of his memories. 3PO, she said, approaching the droid. "I've been thinking, would you like to have your memories restored?" The Golden Protocol droid looked up at her, his eyes wide with surprise. "Oh, Princess Leia, I don't know what to say. Are you sure it's possible?" Leia nodded. "It is. R2 has a backup of your original programming. It will be a simple matter to restore your memories." "Oh, how wonderful!" 3PO exclaimed. "I've missed so much, especially my dear Master Anakin and his beloved Padme. It would be such a joy to remember them again." Leia smiled at the droid's enthusiasm. "Very well. R2, please restore C-3PO's memories." The little astromech beeped in acknowledgement, and 3PO stood still, his eyes flickering as his memories were restored. Leia watched him anxiously, hoping that the process wouldn't be too overwhelming for him. After a few moments, 3PO's eyes snapped open, and he looked around the room, his expression one of wonder. "Princess Leia, I can remember everything," he said, his voice filled with excitement. "I remember Master Anakin and his wife Padme, and all the adventures we had together. It's like I've come alive again." Leia smiled at the droid's enthusiasm, happy to have been able to give him back a part of his past. "I'm glad, 3PO. You deserve to remember everything that's happened to you, and who knows, maybe someday you'll be able to help us make new memories." Would the rebels give Anakin a new suit? As Vader recovered from his injuries, the Rebel Alliance Council convened to discuss his fate. There was much debate over what to do with the former Sith Lord. Some argued that he should be executed for his crimes, while others believed that he could still be of use to the rebellion. In the end, it was decided that Vader would be given a chance to redeem himself. He would be stripped of his title and rank, but he would be allowed to stay with the rebels and work to atone for his past actions. It was at this point that the question of Vader's suit came up. The battered black armor had served him well during his time as a Sith Lord, but it was a constant reminder of his past. Luke spoke up, his voice soft but firm. I think we should give him a new suit, something that reflects his new identity as Anakin Skywalker. There was a murmur of agreement around the table, and Leia nodded thoughtfully. Yes, I agree. Anakin deserves a fresh start, and a new suit would be a symbol of that. The council tasked their engineers with creating a new suit for Anakin. They wanted it to be practical and durable, but also reflective of his new identity. After several weeks of work, they presented the finished suit to Anakin. The new suit was white, with black accents. It was made of a light, flexible material that would allow him to move more freely than his old armor. It had a belt with several pouches for his equipment, and a built-in breathing apparatus to help him adjust to life without his old suit. Anakin looked down at the suit, his expression unreadable. It's different, he said finally, but I suppose it will take some getting used to. Luke stepped forward, a small smile on his face. It's a fresh start, Dad. A chance to leave your past behind and start anew. Anakin looked at his son, his eyes softening. Thank you, Luke. I appreciate everything you've done for me. The rest of the crew nodded in agreement, and Anakin smiled, a small but genuine expression of gratitude. It was clear that the new suit was more than just a piece of equipment. It was a symbol of hope, of redemption, and of a new beginning for Anakin Skywalker. Would Anakin meet Leia, Han, Chewie, and Lando, and C-3PO and R2 again? As Anakin adjusted to his new life with the rebels. Hold on, guys. Alright, here. As Anakin adjusted to his new life with the rebels, he had the opportunity to meet several members of the crew of the Millennium Falcon. Leia, Han, Chewie, and Lando all came to visit him in his quarters on the medical frigate. Anakin, it's good to finally meet you, Han said, extending a hand. Anakin looked at the smuggler warily, unsure of how to react. It's good to meet you too, he said slowly. Chewie barked a greeting, and Anakin couldn't help but smile at the Wookiee's enthusiasm. Hello, Chewbacca. It's good to see you again. Lando stepped forward, his smooth voice cutting through the awkward silence. Anakin, it's a pleasure to make your acquaintance. I've heard so much about you. Anakin nodded, still feeling somewhat uncomfortable. It was strange to be meeting these people who had been his enemies for so long, but he knew that he needed to make an effort to get to know them. And of course, we can't forget about our old friends, C-3PO and R2-D2, Leia said, motioning to the two droids standing in the corner. Master Anakin, it's so good to see you again, 3PO exclaimed, hurrying forward to give Anakin a hug. Anakin laughed, feeling Some of his tension eased. "It's good to see you too, 3PO. You haven't changed a bit." R2 beeped a greeting, and Anakin nodded in acknowledgement. It was good to see the little astromech again, even if he couldn't quite remember all of their adventures together. As the conversation continued, Anakin felt himself relaxing. These people might have been his enemies at one point, but they were also his allies now. They were all fighting for the same cause, and Anakin knew that he could learn a lot from them. Maybe, just maybe, he could even become friends with them. It was a strange thought, but one that filled him with a sense of hope for the future. Would Anakin, 3PO, and R2 tell Luke and Leia about Padme? As Anakin continued to spend time with the rebels, he found himself growing closer to Luke and Leia. They had been through so much, and Anakin felt a kinship with them that he couldn't quite explain. One day, as they were sitting in the medical frigate's common room, Anakin felt himself telling them about Padme. It was a difficult subject, and he had avoided it for so long, but something about the twins made him feel like he could trust them. "Luke, Leia, I need to tell you something," Anakin said, his voice quiet. "Something that I've been keeping from you for a long time." The twins looked at him, concern etched on their faces. "What is it, Anakin?" Leia asked. Anakin took a deep breath. "Padme. She was my wife. We loved each other very much." The room fell silent as Luke and Leia absorbed this information. Anakin could see the shock and sadness on their faces, and he felt a pang of guilt. "I'm so sorry, Anakin," Luke said, his voice filled with compassion. "I had no idea." Leia was silent for a moment before speaking up. "Why didn't you tell us before?" Anakin looked down, feeling ashamed. I was afraid of what you would think of me, of what you would think of her. I was afraid that you would see me as the monster that I became." Luke reached out a hand and placed it on Anakin's shoulder. "Anakin, we could never see you as a monster. We know what you did was wrong, but we know that you're trying to make amends. That's all that matters." Anakin nodded, feeling a sense of relief wash over him. It was a weight off his shoulders to finally be able to share his part of his past with someone. 3PO and R2 had been listening to the conversation from the sidelines, and 3PO spoke up. "Master Anakin loved Lady Padme very much. I was there when they got married." Luke and Leia looked at the droids in surprise, and Anakin couldn't help but smile. It was strange to think that 3PO and R2 had been witness to some of the most important moments of his life. As the conversation continued, Anakin felt a sense of peace settle over him. He had finally shared his deepest secret with his children, and they had accepted him. It was a small step, but it gave him hope for the future. Would Anakin stand trial for the crimes he committed as Vader? As Anakin continued to work with the Rebel Alliance and earn their trust, the question of what to do with him began to arise. The crimes he had committed as Vader were severe, and many people felt that he should be brought to justice. One day, a group of rebel leaders approached Anakin in his quarters on the medical frigate. They looked solemn and serious, and Anakin knew immediately that something was wrong. Anakin, we need to talk to you about something, Mon Mothma, one of the rebel leaders, said. Anakin nodded, feeling a sense of apprehension. What is it? What is it? Many people in the Rebel Alliance are calling you out. Many people in the Alliance are calling for you to stand trial for the crimes you committed as Darth Vader, Mon Mothma said, her voice gentle but firm. Anakin felt a sense of panic rise up in him. He had been hoping that he could somehow make up for what he had done, that he could find a way to redeem himself without having to face the consequences of his actions. What does that mean? He asked, his voice shaking slightly. It means that you would have to stand trial for the crimes you committed as Darth Vader, Mon Mothma explained. It would be a fair trial, with an impartial judge and jury. You would have the chance to defend yourself. Anakin shook his head, feeling overwhelmed. I don't know if I can do that. I don't know if I could face the things I've done. Anakin, we know that this is a difficult decision, Leia said, stepping forward, but we also know that you want to make amends for what you've done. This is the only way to do that. It's the only way to truly move forward. Anakin looked at her, feeling a sense of gratitude. She was right, of course. He couldn't keep running away from his past. He needed to face it head on, no matter how difficult that might be. Okay, he said, his voice low. I'll do it. I'll stand trial. The rebel leaders nodded, looking relieved. We'll make the necessary arrangements, Mon Mothma said. We'll find a judge and jury who are fair and impartial, and we'll make sure that your defense team is the best in the galaxy. Anakin felt a sense of trepidation, but also a sense of relief. He was ready to face his past, no matter how painful it might be. How would the Imperial remnant react to Vader being Anakin Skywalker and killing Palpatine and redeeming himself? News of Anakin Skywalker's redemption and the downfall of the Emperor spread quickly through the galaxy, even to the remnants of the Imperial forces who were still fighting the Rebel Alliance. Many of the Imperial soldiers and officers were shocked and disbelieving at first. But as more information came in, they began to realize the truth of what had happened. Some of the more hardline Imperial leaders refused to accept that Anakin Skywalker and Darth Vader were the same person, claiming that it was just rebel propaganda designed to demoralize their troops. But others were more pragmatic and recognized that the situation had changed. One of these pragmatists was Admiral Ray Sloan, a high-ranking Imperial officer who had survived the Battle of Endor and was now leading a remnant of the Imperial Navy. She had never been a fanatical follower of the Emperor like some of her colleagues, and she was willing to consider the possibility that Anakin Skywalker had redeemed himself. Sloan called a meeting with her top advisors to discuss the situation. I know some of you are skeptical of this news about Anakin Skywalker, she said, but we need to consider the implications of what has happened. If it's true that he killed the Emperor and redeemed himself, then the entire basis of our cause has been called into question. We need to reevaluate our position. One of her advisors, a grizzled general named Veers, snorted. Reevaluate? We're fighting for the survival of the Empire, Admiral. We can't just abandon our cause because of some rebel propaganda. Sloane shook her head. It's not propaganda, General. I've received reports from reliable sources that confirm the story. Anakin Skywalker is alive and he's fighting with the rebels. Then he's a traitor, Veers growled. He deserves to die, just like any other traitor. Sloane raised an eyebrow. Is that what you think, General? Even after we've heard about him? Even after what he did to the Emperor? Veers hesitated, his expression darkening. I don't know what to think. This is all so unexpected. Sloane nodded. Yes, it is unexpected, but it's also an opportunity. An opportunity to reconsider what we're fighting for and what we're willing to achieve to do and what we're willing to do to achieve our goals. We can't just continue down the same path we've been on. It's led us to defeat after defeat. We need to be smarter, more strategic. Another advisor, a young officer named Taryn Koth, spoke up. What do you suggest, Admiral? Sloane looked at him thoughtfully. We need to reach out to Anakin Skywalker. We need to find out what he wants, what he's fighting for. If there's any chance that he's willing to work with us, we should take it. Veer scoffed. And if he's not willing to work with us, what then? Sloane's expression hardened. Then we'll have to fight him, just like we've been fighting the rebels, but we'll do it with a clearer understanding of what's at stake. We'll do it with the knowledge that Anakin Skywalker is not just some mindless killing machine, but a man who has struggled with his own demons and found a way to overcome them. And that will make all the difference. The room fell silent as they all considered Sloane's words. It was a risky strategy, but it might just be their only hope. Would the Imperial Remnant reach out to Anakin? After much deliberation, Admiral Ray Sloane of the Imperial Remnant decided to reach out to Anakin Skywalker. She saw an opportunity to potentially make a deal with him, or at the very least, get a better understanding of what he was fighting for. Sloane contacted the Rebel Alliance, asking to speak with Skywalker. After some initial hesitation, the rebels agreed to arrange a meeting. A location was chosen, and both sides sent representatives to the rendezvous point. Anakin arrived with a small escort of rebel soldiers, but he left them outside the meeting room. He entered alone, looking calm and composed. On the Imperial side, Sloane and a few of her top advisors were waiting for him. Anakin Skywalker, she said, greeting him. Thank you for coming. Anakin nodded. I was curious to hear what you have to say. Sloane gestured for him to take a seat at the table. As you may have heard, we have been discussing the news of your redemption and the fall of the Emperor. We wanted to hear from you directly, to understand what it is you're fighting for. Anakin looked at her for a moment, then spoke. I'm fighting for the good of the galaxy, for freedom and justice. Sloane raised an eyebrow. And you believe the Rebel Alliance represents those ideals? I believe they do, Anakin said firmly. They're not perfect, but they're fighting for what's right. Sloane leaned forward. What about the Empire? Do you believe we're fighting for what's right? Anakin hesitated. I believe you're fighting for what you believe in, but that doesn't necessarily make it right. Sloane nodded. Fair enough, but let me ask you this. What do you want, Anakin? What do you hope to achieve? Anakin paused, considering his answer carefully. I want to make amends for what I've done. I want to help the galaxy. I want to help to make the galaxy a better place, and I want to protect the people I care about. Sloane nodded thoughtfully. Those are noble goals, and we may be able to help you achieve them. Anakin raised an eyebrow. What do you mean? Sloane leaned forward, her voice low. We have resources, Anakin. We have information, weapons, ships. We have people who are still loyal to the Empire, who would be willing to work with you if you are willing to work with us. Anakin looked at her skeptically. And what would you want in return? Sloane shrugged. It depends on what you can offer. We have common enemies, Anakin. The rebels, for one. And there are no other threats out there that we could face together. Anakin frowned. I don't know if I can work with the Empire, even if it's in a limited capacity. Too much has happened. Too much has happened between us. Sloane leaned back in her chair. I understand, but I hope you'll consider we could both benefit from a partnership. Anakin didn't say anything, but he didn't look convinced. Sloane could tell that he was considering the offer, though, and she decided to let him think it over. Well, Anakin, thank you for speaking with us, she said, standing up. We'll be in touch if we have anything else to discuss. Anakin nodded and stood up as well. Thank you for the offer. I'll think about it. As he walked out of the room, Sloane couldn't help but feel a glimmer of hope. Maybe, just maybe, they could find a way to work together. It was possible. Very possible. It was very, very possible. When Obi-Wan and Yoda reach out to Anakin as Force Ghosts after Anakin was redeemed. After Anakin was redeemed and the Jedi Order was restored, Obi-Wan and Yoda knew that they needed to speak with him. They had watched from the afterlife as their former Padawan had gone through so much pain and suffering, and they wanted to make things right. One day, as Anakin was meditating in his headquarters, he felt a familiar presence. He opened his eyes to see Obi-Wan and Yoda standing before him, both of them glowing faintly. Anakin, Obi-Wan said softly. We have much to discuss. Anakin, Obi-Wan said softly. We have much to discuss. Anakin stood up, staring at his former masters in disbelief. Obi-Wan, Yoda. Is it really you? Yoda nodded. Yes, young Skywalker. As Force Ghosts, we are always with you. Anakin shook his head. I don't know what to say. Obi-Wan put a hand on his shoulder. There's no need to say anything, my old friend. We've come to offer our guidance, if you'll accept it. Anakin looked at them both, his eyes filling with tears. Of course I'll accept it. I need all the help I can get. Yoda smiled. Wise you are, Anakin Skywalker. A difficult path, you have chosen, but the right one it is. Anakin nodded, feeling a sense of relief wash over him. He had always felt like he was missing something, like there was a piece of him that he couldn't quite understand. But with Obi-Wan and Yoda by his side, he felt like he might finally be able to find some peace. I have so many questions, he said, looking at them both. Obi-Wan smiled. Ask away, my Padawan. And so Anakin spent the next few hours talking with Obi-Wan and Yoda, asking them about everything from the nature of the Force to the mistakes he had made in the past. They listened patiently, offering their wisdom and guidance where they could. As the conversation drew to a close, Yoda spoke up. One more thing we have, young Skywalker. A message from your mother. Anakin's eyes widened. My mother? What did she have to say? Yoda smiled. That she loves you, she does. And that she is proud of the man you have become. Anakin felt his heart swell with emotion. Thank you, Master Yoda. Thank you both. Obi-Wan and Yoda nodded. They began to fade away. We will always be with you, Anakin, Obi-Wan said, his voice fading. May the Force be with you. And then they were gone, leaving Anakin alone in his thoughts. With his thoughts, he felt a sense of peace, knowing that his former masters were still watching over him, and with their guidance, he felt like he might finally be able to find some measure of redemption for all the wrongs he had committed in the past. Would Luke and Anakin rebuild the Jedi Order? After Anakin's redemption in the fall of the Empire, Luke and Anakin spent a lot of time together discussing the future of the Jedi Order. They both knew that rebuilding the Order would be a difficult task, but they were committed to do it. One day, as they sat in the Jedi Temple on Coruscant, Luke turned to Anakin. What do you think, Father? Can we really do this? Rebuild the Order? Anakin looked at him, his expression serious. It won't be easy, Luke. We'll have to start from scratch, essentially. But I believe we can do it. And we can do it right this time. Luke nodded, a determined look on his face. I agree. We have to learn from the mistakes of the past. And we have to make sure that the Jedi are truly serving the galaxy, not just themselves. Anakin smiled, proud of his son's wisdom. You're right, Luke. And I'll be with you every step of the way. We can use my experiences with the dark side to teach the new Jedi how to avoid its trepidations. Luke nodded. That's a good point. And we can also learn from the teachings of other Force users, like the Bendu and the Night Sisters. Anakin raised an eyebrow. The Night Sisters? Really, Luke? Luke grinned. Well, their philosophy is a little different, but we can still learn from them. Anakin chuckled. I suppose you're right. It's good to keep an open mind. They sat in silence for a few moments, both lost in their thoughts. Then Anakin turned to Luke again. I never thought I'd be doing this, Luke. Rebuilding the Order with my own son. Luke smiled. Me neither, Father, but I'm glad we're doing it together. Anakin nodded, feeling a sense of pride and purpose fill him. He had spent many years as a Sith Lord, causing pain and destruction, but now he was finally able to make up for his mistakes and help bring about a brighter future for the galaxy. Together, he and Luke would rebuild the Jedi Order, with all the knowledge and experience they had gained throughout their lives, and with their guidance, the new Jedi Order would be stronger and more compassionate than ever before. Would Anakin help the rebels to locate top secret Imperial bases and give them top secret Imperial plans? After the fall of the Empire, Anakin became an integral part of the Rebel Alliance, using his knowledge of the Imperial military to help locate top secret bases and give them access to important information. One day, he and Leia were going over some documents when he spoke up. Leia, I think I might be able to help you find the location of an important Imperial base. It's well hidden, but I know how to access the files that contain the location. Leia looked up, surprised. Really, Anakin? That would be incredibly helpful. Anakin nodded. I won't lie. It won't be easy, but I can give you the information you need to access the files. And once you have them, you'll be able to see everything they've been keeping hidden. Leia smiled, feeling a sense of relief. Thank you, Anakin. This could be the breakthrough we need to finally take down the remnants of the Empire for good. Anakin nodded, a determined look on his face. I'll do whatever it takes to help you, Leia. You and Luke have given me a new purpose, and I intend to see it through. Leia placed a hand on his shoulder. We're lucky to have you on our side, Anakin. Your knowledge of the Empire is invaluable. Anakin smiled, feeling a sense of pride. He had spent so many years working against the rebels, causing destruction and pain, but now he was able to use his skills for good, to help bring about a better future for the galaxy. Together, he and Leia would continue to work to bring down the remnants of the Empire and create a better future for all who lived in the galaxy. Would Anakin tell Luke about Palpatine's hidden observatories and Exegol? One day, while Anakin and Luke were training together, Anakin brought up something that had been weighing on his mind. Luke, I need to tell you something. Something that Palpatine kept hidden from everyone. Luke looked at his father with interest. What is it, Dad? Anakin hesitated for a moment before continuing. Palpatine had hidden observatories scattered across the galaxy. They were used to keep tabs on the Jedi Order, and later, the Rebellion. But that's not the only thing he kept hidden. Luke's eyes widened. What else, Dad? Anakin took a deep breath. Exegol. Palpatine had a secret base there, where he was conducting experiments and building his new fleet. It was hidden from everyone, even the Imperial leadership. Luke frowned. That's where he went after the second Death Star was destroyed, isn't it? Anakin nodded. Yes. And that's where he planned to make his final stand. He was obsessed with living forever and ruling the galaxy, and he was willing to do whatever it took to make that happen. Luke shook his head in disbelief. I can't believe he kept that hidden. He kept all of that hidden for so long. But how did you know all of this, Dad? Anakin sighed. I was part of it, Luke. I helped him build that fleet. I was blinded by my loyalty to him and didn't see the harm in what we were doing until it was too late. Luke placed a hand on his father's shoulder. I understand, Dad. You were under his influence for so long. But now you're helping us make things right, and that's what matters." Anakin smiled at his son, grateful for his understanding. "Thank you, Luke. I'll do everything in my power to help you and the rebellion bring peace to the galaxy." Would Anakin, Luke, and the rebels go to Exegol and to defeat Palpatine and his fleet? Anakin and Luke sat with the rebel leaders in the briefing room, discussing their plan to defeat Palpatine and his fleet. "We know that Exegol is heavily fortified," General Lander Calrissian said, looking at the holographic map projected in the center of the table. "But with Anakin's help, we might be able to sneak in undetected." Anakin nodded. "I know the layout of the base, and I can help you navigate through it." "But what about Palpatine?" Leia asked, concern etched on her face. "He's incredibly powerful. How do we defeat him?" Luke spoke up. "I can feel his presence in the Force. He's not invincible. And with Anakin's help, we might be able to turn the tide in our favor." The rebel leaders looked at each other, weighing their options. Finally, General Wedge Antilles spoke up. "It's a risky plan, but it might be our only shot. We have to take the fight to Palpatine and end the Empire and end this once and for all." The group nodded in agreement, and preparations began for the mission to Exegol. Anakin, Luke, and a team of rebel soldiers flew a stolen Imperial shuttle to the hidden planet, using Anakin's knowledge of the base to avoid detection. As they made their way through the base, they encountered fierce resistance from Palpatine's forces, but Anakin's skill with the lightsaber and Luke's mastery of the Force helped them fight their way to the central command center. There they faced Palpatine himself, flanked by his loyal Sith followers. Anakin and Luke ignited their lightsabers, ready to face their former master. "You're too late," Palpatine sneered. "My fleet has already begun its attack on the galaxy, and now you will join me or be destroyed." Anakin and Luke exchanged a determined look before launching into battle. The clash of lightsabers echoed through the command center as they fought to defeat Palpatine and his followers. With the help of the rebel soldiers, they were able to disable the control systems for Palpatine's fleet, leaving the ships vulnerable. Finally, Anakin and Luke were able to overpower Palpatine, striking him down with a final blow. As the battle raged on around them, Anakin and Luke looked at each other, a sense of relief washing over them. They had done it. They had defeated Palpatine and saved the galaxy. "We did it, Dad," Luke said, a smile spreading across his face. Anakin nodded, his own smile mirroring Luke's. "Yes, we did. And it wouldn't have been possible without the help of the rebels." The group made their way back to the stolen shuttle, victorious but weary from the battle. As they flew away from Exegol, Anakin couldn't help but feel a sense of peace wash over him. He had finally redeemed himself and brought balance to the Force. Would Anakin reunite with Ahsoka and introduce her to Luke? After the defeat of Palpatine, Anakin felt a sense of relief wash over him. He had redeemed himself and brought balance to the Force, but there was still one more thing he needed to do. He needed to find Ahsoka Tano, his former Padawan. Anakin traveled to the planet where he had last seen Ahsoka, hoping to reunite with her. As he landed his ship, he felt a pang of nervousness in his chest. He hadn't seen her in years and wasn't sure how she would react to seeing him again. As he made his way through the streets, he spotted her in the distance, talking to a group of locals. He hesitated for a moment before making his way over to her. Ahsoka, he said softly, and she turned over to face him. Anakin, she said, her voice filled with surprise. I didn't expect to see you here. I needed to see you, he said, stepping closer to her. I needed to make things right. Ahsoka looked at him for a moment before nodding. I've heard about what happened. I'm proud of you. Anakin smiled, feeling a sense of relief. Thank you. I'm proud of you too, Ahsoka. As they talked, Anakin felt a sense of excitement building within him. He knew that he needed to introduce Ahsoka to his son, Luke. They were family, and Anakin wanted them to know each other. Listen, Ahsoka, he said, interrupting their conversation. There's something I want to show you. He led her back to his ship, and they made the journey back to the rebel base where Luke was waiting for them. When they arrived, Anakin introduced Ahsoka to Luke, feeling a sense of pride in his chest. Ahsoka, this is my son, Luke. Anakin said, gesturing towards Luke. Luke, this is my former Padawan, Ahsoka Tano. Luke looked at Ahsoka, a sense of awe in his eyes. It's an honor to meet you, Ahsoka. My father has told me so much about you. Ahsoka smiled, feeling a sense of warmth spread through her chest. It's great to meet you too, Luke. Your father was an incredible Jedi. Anakin stood back, watching the interaction between the two of them. He felt a sense of happiness that he hadn't felt in years. His family was together, and they were all on the same side. As they talked, Anakin knew that there was still much work to be done in the galaxy. But for now, he was content to be with his family. Would Ahsoka be mad at Anakin for turning to the dark side and betraying the Jedi? When Anakin and Ahsoka reunited after many years, Anakin was filled with a sense of relief, with a sense of happiness, but he also felt a sense of tinge and oppression and apprehension. He knew that he had betrayed the Jedi Order, and he wasn't sure how Ahsoka would react to seeing him again. As they talked, Anakin sensed that Ahsoka was avoiding the topic of his fall to the dark side, and he knew that he needed to address it. Ahsoka, I know what I did was wrong, Anakin said, his voice heavy with emotion. I betrayed the Jedi Order, and I betrayed you. I know that I can never make up for what I've done, but I want to try. Ahsoka looked at him for a moment, her expression unreadable. Anakin, I'm not going to lie to you. What you did was unforgivable. You turned your back on everyone, on everything we believed in, and everything we fought for. Anakin bowed his head, feeling a sense of shame wash over him. I know, and I'm sorry. But, Ahsoka continued, I also know that you're not the same person you were back then. You've changed, and you've redeemed yourself. I can see that. And that means something. Anakin looked up at her, his eyes filled with gratitude. Thank you, Ahsoka. That means a lot to me. Ahsoka smiled, feeling a sense of warmth spreading through her chest. You're still my friend, Anakin, and I'll always be here for you. Anakin nodded, feeling a sense of relief wash over him. He knew that he could never fully make up for what he had done, but he was grateful to have Ahsoka's forgiveness and support. As they continued to talk, Anakin felt a sense of hope building within him. He knew that he still had a lot to atone for, but with Ahsoka by his side, he was ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. Alright guys, that's the end of my fanfic. So right now, I did my closing and say bye. Make sure to like, comment in the discussion tab, and subscribe, and I will see you all next time. Bye!